Or no. In the next few minutes, we'll know which way Australia decided. More than 12 million people had their say in the same-sex marriage postal survey, and we will bring you the announcement live from the Australian Bureau of Statistics as it happens. Our reporter Kirsty Johansson is in Sydney, where the Yes camp is anxiously waiting the results, and our chief political correspondent Daniela Retorto is in Canberra, where the announcement will be made. We'll go first to Daniela. Danny, a yes vote is expected.
It is, Ricardo, if you go according to the polls. But I think the most extraordinary thing about this process has been the turnout by the Australian public. At last count, it was something like 78.5% of Australians have voted in this. Now, let's remember, usually for Australian elections, for a plebiscite, we would have compulsory voting. This wasn't a compulsory vote. This was a voluntary postal survey. It was a compromise result because the government couldn't get its plebiscite, its preferred option, through the parliament. It tried twice in the Senate, and twice the Senate rejected it. So in order for the Prime Minister to keep faith, not just with the public, but also with the coalition party room, that there would only be same-sex marriage after it went to a vote of the people, there was this idea of a postal survey, and that's what we've had. It is an expensive Plan B option, $122 million for the Australian Bureau of Statistics to conduct this. Now, the votes, the ballots went out on September 12, and Australians have been voting for the last 2 months.
OK, Danny, thanks for that. We'll come back to you in a few moments. Kirsty Johansson, you're in Sydney at an event there to celebrate a potential yes vote. What is the feeling there?
Ricardo, there's definitely a massive feeling of excitement here, as you can hear behind me, but also a sense of anxiousness. I think people here just really want this announcement to be over with so they can move on with their lives either way. As you can see, hundreds of people have turned out to this event.
OK, Kirsty, we'll have to interrupt you and cross live to the Australian Bureau of Statistics right now for the announcement.
Good morning, everyone. My name's David Kalish, and I'm the Australian statistician. I'd like to welcome everyone here to the Australian Bureau of Statistics and acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, paying my respects to elders past and present. I called this media conference to announce the results of the Australian Marriage Law Postal Survey. It's probably the only time millions of Australians will gather to hear from the Australian statistician. As the nation's official statistical agency, the ABS provides trusted, relevant, objective statistics to inform Australia's important decisions. ABS statistics provide quality information about our society, our population, the economy and the environment. On August 9, 2017, the Treasurer directed the ABS to ask everyone on the electoral roll if they wish to express a view on the issue of whether the law should be changed to allow same-sex couples to marry. The ABS was required to provide results for the nation as a whole, at the state and territory level, and for every Commonwealth electoral division. The Treasurer's direction required the results by today, which the ABS has achieved. The ABS worked to enable as many eligible people as possible to participate in the voluntary survey. Together with our government partners and a number of suppliers, our goal was to make the process as easy as possible without compromising the integrity of the process or the results. The survey was simple and could be completed by those travelling or living overseas, those in remote communities, people with disability, and those who speak different languages. Only one response per eligible Australian was counted. Today, along with the results, we also provide a statement on quality and integrity of the survey. Australians can have trust in these statistics. So now to the final count of participation. Millions of Australians reported and responded to this voluntary survey, and the final number was 12,727,000 and 920 people. Overall, this survey achieved a response rate of 79.5%. This is outstanding for a voluntary survey and well above other voluntary exercises conducted around the world. It shows how important this issue is to many Australians. Participation was strong across all ages, with all age groups having higher than 70% participation. Participation in the survey was slightly higher at older ages and slightly lower for younger age groups, but not markedly so. It's worth noting our youngest on the electoral roll, the 18 and 19-year-olds, responded strongly, with around 78% participating. Participation was between 77.9% and 82.4% in every state and territory except the Northern Territory, where 58.4% of those eligible chose to have a say. Participation in the survey was over 70% in 146 of the 150 Commonwealth electorates. For the remaining 4 electorates, it was over 60% for 3 and over 50% for the remaining 1. With this high and consistent participation rate across ages, states and territories and Commonwealth electorates, Australians can have confidence these statistics reflect the view of the eligible population. And now the official results of the Australian Marriage Law Postal Survey. For the national result, yes responses, 7,817,247, representing 61.6% of clear responses. That's 61.6% of clear responses were yes. No responses, 4,873,987, representing 38.4% of clear responses. That's 38.4% of clear responses were no.
Representing 61.
A further 36,686 responses were unclear, representing 0.2% of total responses.
No responses.
At a state and territory level, every state and territory recorded a majority yes result. Every state and territory recorded a majority yes result over 60%, with the exception of New South Wales, which recorded a majority yes result of 57.8%. ACT had the highest majority yes at 74%. By Commonwealth electoral division, of the 150 Commonwealth electorates, a majority yes outcome was recorded for 133 electorates, and a majority no outcome was recorded for only 17 electorates. Results were clearly in favour of yes or no in every Commonwealth electoral division. Within those 133 electorates with a majority yes response, there were 95 electorates with a majority yes response of at least 60%. Within those 17 electorates with a majority no response, there were 6 electorates with a majority no response of at least 60%. 5 electorates had a closer results within the 49-51 range. 3 had a marginal no outcome, and 2 of these had a marginal yes outcome. The full results will shortly be made available on the dedicated Marriage Law Postal Survey website.
OK, we'll leave the ABS there. 61.6% in favour of a change to the Marriage Act, a yes vote for same-sex marriage. Kirsty Johansson, you're at a party in Sydney. What's it like there?
Well, Ricardo, I think, how do you describe the atmosphere? Electric? Have a look around me. People are cheering, they're hugging. There's so many tears of joy here. I'm joined now actually by a couple who've been waiting for this moment for such a long time. Rob and Marcel, what's the feeling?
Happiness.
Yeah, couldn't be happier.
Couldn't be happier with the results. It's been a long, long battle for all of us. It's still, we haven't finished yet, but it's humbling that the Australian public have come behind us in this fight.
Yeah, a bit of faith back in humanity, I think. and yeah, we're just really happy with the result.
And we're extremely happy, you know, that the youth and the teenagers out there, that they don't have to be afraid, that they have the support out there of many Australians.
You've obviously still got another step ahead of you, but you've obviously got faith in the Australian government that you'll get through this?
Well, they should listen to the people. The majority of the people have voted yes. I think it's time that they actually do their work now.
Absolutely.
Any plans for a wedding? Or a proposal, should I say?
I already don't hear the end of it, so it'll be interesting to see, yeah.
He needs to propose.
Yeah, we'll wait and see.
Yes.
Not today.
Not today.
No.
No pressure. Ricardo, as you can see, there's so many happy people here today, and I can guarantee that celebrations will be going on here and well into the night.
OK, Kirsty Johansson, thank you very much. No doubt we'll hear from you on SBS World News later tonight. Now to Canberra, Daniela Ritorto. Daniela, we had that response, 61.6% yes, 38.4% no. So what happens now?
OK, Ricardo, I think, look, a lot of politicians today, I know the Prime Minister as well, I heard Penny Wong on radio this morning say it too from Labor, that this is very much the Australians' day for those in the yes camp who have now emerged from this with a yes win. But we do need to get into the mechanics of what happens next. So let me run you through them. There is a bill, a private member's bill by the Liberal MP for Western Australia, Dean Smith. This bill was prepared earlier this year. It's been through a Senate committee process and it has cross-party support, and it's been put into the Senate with the sponsorship of Labor, of the Greens, of the Xenophon team, of Senator Derryn Hinch. So this is the bill that as soon as tomorrow in the Senate will start being debated. Now, everyone's going to want to have their say on such a huge issue, and there are people, obviously, politicians who want to try and perhaps beef up some elements of the religious protections within it. Now, the Prime Minister has said that's fine, let's work through the process, but this is the bill that's going to go forward, even though in the last couple of days a group of coalition MPs have put forward a rival bill which has a lot stricter interpretation of discrimination laws. In fact, it sort of wants to undo some of the protections. This is a bill put up by Senator James Patterson, but the Prime Minister was pretty clear yesterday, speaking from Manila, that he said that that bill has very little hope of getting through Parliament, given the cross-party support for Dean Smith's bill. So as soon as tomorrow legislation will be in the Parliament, it'll start being debated. There are 2 more sitting weeks left of this year. The Prime Minister has promised that if there was a yes vote, there would be a yes result, there would be a vote before Christmas, and same-sex marriage would be legislated by the end of this year.
Daniela, what do you think this, I guess, result means for the Turnbull government?
Look, it's a good question, Ricardo. There is no doubt this has been one of the most vexed, protracted issues, and not just for the Turnbull government. Labor really struggled with this issue in government as well for its 6 years in office. It has moved a long way for both political parties, and I think for many people who've been saying that very much they've just wanted this issue dealt with because it has crowded out other political issues in terms of public debate over the last few years. For the Prime Minister, Malcolm Turnbull, who has been a yes supporter for many years, I think this will be a moment he will savour if he can deliver this and get the legislation through with a conscience vote in the Parliament that gets overwhelming support. This will be part of Malcolm Turnbull's legacy, delivering same-sex marriage and finding a way to do so which still kept faith with his party room, despite some of the internal opposition. Genuinely held, there are people within the Parliament who support the traditional view of marriage, and they've made those views clear. But if he can deliver this through not only his tricky coalition party room, but via this postal survey that was pretty unpopular at first, but has proven to be popular. 79% of Australians took part. Well, then I think that will be an enduring legacy of the Turnbull government. But he has to get there first, Ricardo. He has to get this thing through in the next few weeks of sitting.
Daniela, obviously now that this survey result has come through, people would want change as soon as possible, and there was that promise that legislation would get through by before Christmas. Do you think that'll happen?
Well, yeah, as I was saying, there is a couple more days of the Senate this week, and then the House returns on November 27, and there are 2 sitting weeks to get through. But the Prime Minister had already hinted there could be an extra sitting week before Christmas. That was to deal with all of the dual citizenship audit stuff. But I think I can't see anyone wanting this dragging into the new year. So if extra days or extended sitting hours are required, because this is something that will take some time, even though there is perhaps a majority in the Parliament on a conscience vote, it will take time. People are going to want to speak to it. People are going to want to move amendments to it. But I can't see any appetite for this for this place, Canberra, to rise for 2018 without this having been legislated.
Okay, thank you, Daniela. Let's go back to that event in Sydney with Kirsty Johansson. She is there. Of course, we've heard from the ABS, 61.6% voting yes, 38.4% voting no, a majority in every state, and we are seeing in terms of the electorates, 150 electorates, a positive or a majority result in 133 of those electorates. So let's now go back to Kirsty Johansson. She is in Sydney with some more reaction there. Kirsty?
Celebrations are definitely well underway here, Ricardo, but I think it's actually going to take some time for this to actually sink in. But I've got 2 lovely ladies here. Amanda, you were just telling me that you're actually organising the party in Oxford Street in central Sydney tonight. Can you just tell me a little bit about that?
Yes, there's an official Australian marriage equality party on tonight at the Beresford. I have the honour to be doing some DJing there and dancing and celebrating with my friends. So,
how big is the celebration going to be?
I think we're going to see a celebration in the street like Sydney and Australia has never seen before. There is so many happy people here and happy people around Australia, and a big thank you to the Australian community for helping bring marriage equality forward. It's fantastic.
Now, we've got some exciting news here. You said that you're probably going to get married next year.
Yeah, my girlfriend and I just got engaged, so it's nice to know that we can legally get married now, which is really great. Very exciting.
Any plans as yet?
No, we've sort of just been waiting for this to see if it was going to be official, so now we can start planning and know it's going to be real. So yeah.
Can you believe that this day has actually come?
I can't believe it took this long, that's for sure. So it's fantastic that it's here and we're all feeling good and happy to get partying now.
You've obviously had a lot of support, family support, friends support here. Has that made the process a lot easier?
Yeah, of course, it always makes a difference to know that you've got your family and friends, but to know that the country that you live in that's meant to be an accepting country actually is accepting and everyone really wants it. It's nice to know that we're backed by the country we love.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. Ricardo, definitely big plans in Sydney tonight, but I can imagine right across the country.
Okay, Kirsty Johansson there in Sydney. Thank you very much. We are expecting to hear from the Prime Minister, Malcolm Turnbull, in a few moments' time. Daniela, what do you think he is likely to say?
Celebrate the result. As I said, he and his wife Lucy Turnbull have long been saying that they are supporters of same-sex marriage. But I think, Ricardo, that the Prime Minister is going to take a moment to say a little bit of "I told you so," because there was a lot of pressure on him during this year to abandon any sort of plebiscite or public vote on the matter after it was twice defeated by the Senate. There was that move inside the party from several MPs who just wanted the Prime Minister to bring on a conscience vote and not go to the people. And I think the Prime Minister will, with this and the fact that it has been a relatively calm debate. I mean, there have been all the advertisements and all of the rallies, and no doubt there have been plenty of people that have been offended by comments on both sides. But I think we can say that it has been a debate that has been, you know, generally civil, and the Prime Minister will, I think, use the opportunity to say, look, we put it to the people, the result has come back as we expected it to, and now we can move forward. And I've been able to keep the promise to my colleagues, to the party room, and I've been able to keep the promise to the Australian people that the only way under a Turnbull government, under a coalition government, that same-sex marriage would be legislated was if it went to a vote. Now, there were plenty of people. The Labor Party didn't think it should have gone to a public vote, and there were plenty of people. Justice Michael Kirby, former High Court judge, was saying that, you know, rights shouldn't be voted on. So there was a lot of opposition to having a plebiscite, to asking people to vote yes or no. But I think
Daniela, we'll interrupt you right now as we cross to the Prime Minister, Malcolm Turnbull.
Have spoken in their millions, and they have voted overwhelmingly yes for marriage equality. They voted yes for fairness. They voted yes for commitment. They voted yes for love. And now it is up to us here in the Parliament of Australia to get on with it, to get on with the job the Australian people have tasked us to do and get this done this year before Christmas. That must be our commitment. We ask the Australian people for their view. This was an unprecedented exercise in democracy. A voluntary survey, a voluntary postal survey in which 80% participated, and over 61%, 61.6% have said yes. That is an overwhelming participation rate and an overwhelming yes vote. Now, I know that many people, a minority obviously, voted no. But we are a fair nation. There is nothing more Australian than a fair go. There is nothing more Australian than equality and mutual respect. And everyone has had their say. That's what we pledged at the last election. Many people stood in our way. The Labor Party, a number of people on the crossbench and others. They didn't want Australians to have their say. We did. And it is a great credit to Matthias Cormann that he was able to put together this ABS postal survey. A great credit to him, a great credit to the ABS and the officers of the Australian Electoral Commission that assisted them to have this done so efficiently, so comprehensively, so emphatically. And I say to all Australians, whatever your views on this issue may be, we must respect the voice of the people. We asked them for their opinion and they have given it to us. It is unequivocal. It is overwhelming. They are our masters, we who are elected to Parliament. It is our job now to get on with it. Get on with it and get this done. It's fair. The people have voted yes for marriage equality. Now it's our job to deliver it. Matthias.
Thank you very much, Prime Minister. We went to the last election promising to give the Australian people the opportunity to have their say as to whether or not the law should be changed to allow same-sex couples to marry. We've delivered on that commitment. The Australian people have spoken and resolved that the law should be changed to allow same-sex couples to marry, and it is now incumbent on the Australian Parliament to act on that decision, to implement that decision. As the government has said from the outset, this is now going to be a matter for the Parliament. The government will facilitate consideration of a private member's bill, and indeed, that is of course now expected to occur. The Parliament over the next few weeks will need to determine the right balance in terms of the appropriate religious protections. We're very confident that that debate will be able to take place constructively through the Senate and through the House of Representatives, and for this to be resolved by the end of the year.
Well, that is certainly our goal. Certainly, our goal is to have the legislation passed through the Parliament before we rise for Christmas. Well, can I just say that the Smith bill does it's called the Smith bill, and with all credit to and affection for Senator Smith, it is, of course, it came out of a Senate committee. As you know, last year the Attorney-General produced an exposure draft of a draft bill to legalise same-sex marriage for consultation. It was considered by a Senate committee which made a number of suggestions and proposals. Many of those were taken up in this bill. It is really a collective work. But the important point is, Catherine, that yes, it does provide protections for religious bodies and ministers of religion, for example. Can't be obliged to marry people that they don't want to marry. That's all right and proper, and broadly accepted. But this is a free vote. It's very important to remember what I promised at the election. My commitment was to give every Australian their say. That has been done. They have spoken. And they've said overwhelmingly yes, that the law should be changed to allow same-sex couples to marry. So it's our job to do that. Now, it is also a free vote, and that means that members of the coalition can vote on the bill, whichever way their conscience tells them to vote, and on amendments, and they can move whatever amendments they wish. And there will no doubt be a very lively debate, and there will be amendments will be put up. Some will no doubt get accepted, others will not. That's in the nature of debate. But it is a free vote, and that's the commitment we made at the election. We are sticking scrupulously to the promises we made at the election.
Obviously, I'm on the public record as saying that I believe the Smith bill is a good starting point, and indeed a number of senators have given notice that they will seek to introduce the Smith bill into the Senate this afternoon. I do believe that there is a need for some additional religious protections. I'm not going to go into the specifics today. That's going to be a matter for the debate over the next few weeks. What would happen this week if the motion that was given notice of in the Senate were to pass the Senate later today is that tomorrow the Senate would start the second reading debate. The debate will not go beyond the second reading debate tomorrow on the terms of the motion that was moved, and the debate on amendments, the debate in the committee stages of the bill will only take place in the week of the 27th of November. So I believe that this is now an opportunity for senators of goodwill from all sides of this debate to engage with each other, to explore opportunities for common ground. I have noted that in recent weeks senior members of Parliament from across the political divide have expressed their support for appropriate levels of religious protections as part of this marriage law reform, and I will participate in these conversations along with everybody else. I will participate in the debate and I will make my final judgments based on those discussions as the legislation progresses through the Parliament.
This process, Conservative colleagues. What would your message be to Conservative colleagues that are now looking to drag their feet and filibuster on this debate to push it well into the new year?
Well, I don't accept your premise, but at all. But I am always able and do meet with colleagues from all sides of the debate on this issue to talk about their concerns and their whatever proposed amendments they have. So I'm very happy to discuss those with them. Protecting religious freedom and freedom of speech is very important, but equally, we are the nation of the fair go and mutual respect, and we treat people equally. We don't discriminate against people because of their gender or their sexual orientation, their religion or their race or the colour of their skin. So we are the nation of the fair go. That's why we're the most successful multicultural society in the world. Admired, I might say, throughout the world for precisely that. So we should cherish that. But clearly, freedom of speech, freedom of religion are also enormously, these are core values, core Australian values as well. So I look forward to talking further with my colleagues. I do that all the time. That's part of my job as PM.
I guess the benefits of the, as we're calling it, the Smith bill. There is the other bill that's been presented, or at least drafted by another Liberal Senator, James Patterson. What are the shortcomings in that bill? Does it go too far?
To be honest with you, the bill that James Patterson has given notice of, I was only advised of its existence on Monday when I was overseas, as you all know. So I haven't had the opportunity to read through it carefully. I look forward to catching up with James shortly. The virtue of the Smith bill, as we'll call it, is that it has been around for quite a long time, for months and months. So I think it was first published or released in August, so quite some time ago. So it can serve the purpose as being the first draft. I mean, again, it's very important to understand the process here. This is a free vote. We committed to a free vote. And so members can move whatever bills they like. It's up to the Senate as to which bill takes precedence or priority. But the Smith bill does have the virtue of being well understood, well read. People know what's in it, and they know what its virtues are, if you like. It's what it's, what the good things in it are, and if they've got problems with it, they can move amendments to correct its defects. That's the process.
OK, that's where we'll leave the Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull for now. Of course, we'll have a full wrap on SBS World News tonight at 6:30 and throughout the day on our website. And for those of you that have just joined us, the same-sex marriage postal vote, the result was yes 61.6% and no 38.4%. If I can bring in Daniela Retorto in Canberra right now. Daniela, hopefully you are also able to hear the Prime Minister there saying that the vote was yes to fairness, yes to commitment, yes to love, and now it's up to us, the government, to get on with it and hopefully to get it before Christmas. So what do you make of the Prime Minister's reaction?
Well, he was a very happy man there, wasn't he, Ricardo? A vote for love, as you said. And he's saying that it was an unequivocal vote and that the people have spoken, and now it's our job, that's the job of this Parliament, to get on with it. And he did make that promise, that commitment to try and get this done before Christmas. Though I just want to bring in, got an email, a press release from a prominent no voice, because we haven't heard from one yet. It's Erica Betts, the Tasmanian Senator, and he's saying he's disappointed by the decision, but it's one that he respects. He also says he's heartened by the 38.4% of the no vote, and says that now that must be the voices of millions of no voters have to be respected in terms of framing the legislation. So, Ricardo, I think that's where the fight really goes next. The people on the losing side of this argument, I guess you could put it that way, and now looking to the Parliament and the formation of this legislation. And you heard the Prime Minister there being asked, well, perhaps could some of the opponents of same-sex marriage, you heard the term filibuster, that's, ask lots and lots of questions, delay, move lots and lots of amendments, so it chews up all of the time and doesn't get done in the allotted time, and the Prime Minister pretty much shutting that down. This does have overwhelming cross-party support. There will be MPs on all sides, some from within Labor as well, who'll vote no, but the Prime Minister's promise there, this will be done by Christmas. Ricardo. OK,
Daniela Retorto there in Canberra. Appreciate your live and immediate reaction, and look forward to your full wrap on SBS World News tonight at 6:30. Now, just recapping this breaking news this morning, the results of the same-sex marriage postal survey. They are in. 61.6% of those who responded voted yes in favour of changing Australia's marriage laws. 12.7 million responses with a response rate of 79.5%. We'll have updates throughout the day and full coverage of this outcome on SBS World News from 6:30 tonight.